Chris Brown, Steve Tasker with you, and joined now by the radio color analyst on the Bills radio network, former Bills center and host of the Centered on Buffalo podcast. It's Eric Wood joining us here, as he does after every game day. Eric, I kind of leave it open to you in terms of where you want to start here, but I think we'd be remiss, because I know a lot of the subject matter is going to be on the handling of the end of the game, but the defensive effort in the second half was nothing short of impressive. I mean, they get a turnover on downs to take points off the board by the Texans, and then the two takeaways in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I like starting on a positive here, and I was impressed with the defense outside of maybe the second, third, fourth drive of the game. I thought they really adjusted well. And look, this is a defense that's banged up. They are out with a number of guys. You hit the huge play to Nico Collins. I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but it sure looks like maybe Cole Bishop getting his first start should have been over the top. And so you have these mistakes and blunders, but then they really settled into their roles. And, getting a guy like Terrell Bernard back is huge. We saw the 4th and 1 stop where he goes over the top to stuff the running back in the backyard. There was nice penetration there as well, but Terrell Bernard's a playmaker. He goes over the top. A lot of guys aren't even going to try that one. And then the interception he makes, being able to ride the tight end Schultz, go back and intercept the ball, trying to get it to Diggs. I mean, there's just not a ton of linebackers in the NFL that can make plays like that. So you get him back, which helps a lot. And then with Ed Oliver out, you're thinking, okay, can Dwayne Carter make some plays? Is he going to be Ed Oliver? Not at this point, but can he make some plays out there? He sniffs out the first screen pass of the game, which was a point of emphasis after last week from Sean McDermott in his press conference. And then he was able to make a few nice plays throughout the game. I was impressed with him flashing at times. And then Dorian Williams, week after week, he seems to be getting better and better. And there was other individual efforts. Rasul Douglas and Christian Benford both had a tackle for loss in this game. Seemed like the edge pressure and the pass rush in generally, especially in the second half, did a nice job. For those watching, the DeJuan Smoot forced fumble, big-time play. So there were some great individual efforts, especially on the defensive side of the football in the second half.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about why it has taken, like, for instance, in the Baltimore game and then also in the Arizona game, it's taken the defense finally a minute to get it going. I mean, the Bills were down 20-3 in this one. They were down 17-3 against Arizona. Obviously, Baltimore jumped out to a big lead. And offensively, same thing. They came back from a big deficit against Arizona. They came back from this deficit last week and tied it this last game yesterday and tied it up. What do you tell? How do you manage your coaching staff? Say, listen, we got to get better. We got to be better coming out of the chute. Our game plans are not working early in these games. It's taking us a minute to find ourselves. What are the issues there?
Yeah, it's hard to tell if it's schematic or if it's simply individual breakdowns. Now, we talked about before the season that this could be a slower start to the defense just because of all the different pieces they were going to have on the defensive side of the football. Well, when you're inexperienced, and Steve, I know you know this, and Chris from following the game for so long, inexperienced teams generally start slower in games. They just don't have as much experience. The game feels fast to them at the start. I felt it within my own career. Towards the end of my career, I felt like, the beginning of the game was just, routine at this point. And early in my career, I felt like there was almost a touch of an adjustment with each and every game going into it. And so, that could be part of what's costing this defense. The safeties maybe starting a little bit slow. These, new linebackers that have been in with the different injuries and different guys that have had to play on this defense. A Cam Lewis who's getting much more starting reps this year, filling in for Taron Johnson. So I think that's part of it. And then, you look at your game plan. Hey, are we maybe too conservative early? And then, okay, now our back's against the wall. Now we're being more aggressive, and I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know that to be a fact.
Yeah, all right. And also, too, they got 5 starters out from who you thought was going to be playing on defense. So that might tend to give you a slow start.
All right, so looking at the offense now, after 5 games, they're in the bottom third in passing. They're now averaging 181 passing yards a game. I mean, that is anemic by a Josh Allen-led team standards. 24th in first downs per game, 25th in third down conversion percentage, a place where they led the league each of the last 2 years. It's down to 32% conversion rate. These are the primary issues where they rank very low in the league now after 5 games. How do you go about correcting what's kind of hit the Bills in the teeth the last 2 weeks offensively?
Yeah, third downs is definitely an issue. When you look at the passing numbers, 2 weeks ago we were saying, well, those are skewed because, we had 2 blowout wins. We didn't have to run the football. Okay, well, now it's getting back to a normal it's getting back to normalcy where, okay, we had 5 games. Only 2 of those were blowouts. What's going on with the passing game? And when I look at it, to me, when you look at these last 2 games, Baltimore came in with a game plan and simply said, I don't think if we put pressure on Josh, if we can try and confuse him, we'll put guys all over the line of scrimmage. You try and guess who's coming. That's going to expose the second and third level of your defense. So you got to generally play man behind it. And they're saying you can't separate in time before we get free rushers. Okay, well, Houston copies that game plan as well. So is it, understanding that at the receiver position, understanding what you have to do and how quick you have to win? Is it, a lack of talent out there where they aren't able to get that separation, or is it scheme? And that's what the Bills have to examine right now, because if I'm prepping for the Buffalo Bills after these last 2 games, I'm saying, okay, well, I'm going to take some chances in this one. And you know what? I might get beat for a 49-yard touchdown to Keon Coleman. That might happen. You have a cover 0 blitz, and that might happen once a game, but we're going to, force you to be extremely low on third down conversion percentage. We're going to get you off the field, and we're willing to give up that one if we can get a bunch of other stops.
Yeah, I would expect the Jets to take the same approach. I mean, you're playing at home, blitz the heck out of them and see if they can fix it, because they haven't after 2 games to this point.
And how concerned are you up front about the pass protection of the Bills? I certainly, we've seen Josh leave a little early when he didn't need to, but that's probably he's starting to get trained by his own internal clock.
I'm still not overly concerned about this offensive line in any way, shape, or form. I think they've done a great job in the run game. And then has there been some breakdowns up front, especially on the interior at times? Of course. I think the biggest issues they have in pass protection right now are at times you get these free rushers. And, yesterday there was one with Ray Davis in the game where it seemed like Josh thought that Ray Davis was going to pick up the guy on the backside, or if that guy comes, you just replace him with the football, which we saw Houston do to us twice for first downs in the game. And so it just seems like whether it's communication issues up front or with Josh or with the backs or the receivers, it seems like the free runners are the biggest issue with the pass protection, not necessarily the individual breakdowns up front.
Right, because he was pressured on 15 to 34 dropbacks against the Ravens last week. I don't think there were as many free rushers this week, so maybe they corrected some of those things and reduced the number. But yeah, I mean, if you're the Jets, you're probably trying to find some of those kinds of plays that you think might work for your guys. When it comes to
and then real quick, and then also what affects O-line play and pass protection is being down multiple scores of games. Now you control that yourself. That's the bed you made.
Yeah.
But when you're down multiple scores, teams want to get really exotic with the looks that they give you. They're willing to take a few more chances, and the defensive line knows at all times, we don't really care about giving up a 7-yard run right now. We just can't, we're going to go try and tee off on the quarterback. And so I think that's played a big factor these last couple of weeks.
Not to mention the fact that yesterday the Bills on average were in 3rd and 7 or more on average in yesterday's game. And that's going to compromise the protection too. As far as the passing game, though, I'm curious for your thoughts on this, Eric. Continuity and reliability is what you're seeking right now in the passing game for the Bills going forward. Hopefully Shakir is back, the highest catch rate player in the league. That would certainly help. But if you're looking for continuity, in my estimation, I think you have to feature James Cook in the passing game more. You have to feature Kincaid in the passing game more. And I would even throw Dawson Knox in there as a 4th option, because these are guys that have played the most with Josh Allen going forward.
Yeah, sorry. I put my computer on mute. I had a dog barking out here. But anyways, yeah, I mean, you got to get Dalton Kincaid going. This has been a disappointing second season for him. You know, you're going to get some splash plays from Keon Coleman, but can you get him more involved? How can you get Curtis Samuel some catches down the field, which will then open up some of those screens and quick hitters that you're trying to get him almost exclusively right now? And then yeah, obviously getting Khalil Shakir back will help. And then, yeah, Dawson Knox has been fairly invisible this year. Can he be an option? Because, you know, we could talk all we want about who can we bring in, or, you know, is Devontae Adams or Amari Cooper? Well, you know, that's likely a long shot. So how do you make the most of what you have on this roster right now? And I don't think it's far-fetched to say that, you know, what we saw in the first few weeks can get it done. Now, you're going to have to evolve as the season goes on. And, you know, these last couple of weeks, they've gotten exposed. And it seems like they've gotten exposed with not being able to beat man-to-man defense.
I was going to ask you that as well. You know, we saw in the first 3 weeks some pretty shiny stuff. And, you know, they're throwing 30 points on the board, and, you know, all this stuff's going on. This 5, and we were talking too in the big picture of 3-2. Kind of when we got into there with all these new players and the turnover, 3-2 is kind of where we thought we would be. But man, oh man, I didn't think it was going to look like this, right? I thought it would be the other way. You'd flip it upside down. You'd look like this in the first 2 weeks, and then the next 3 weeks you'd start to get it together. What? How high? I mean, I know yesterday was like it was like a big belly flop. But what about, you know, how high are you on this group? On the offensive side and defensive side, the personnel, the roster, you know, the whole kit and caboodle. This is kind of where we thought we'd be, but man, oh man, it feels worse than I thought it would feel.
Yeah, it does. And there's obvious concerns. And there are concerns defensively. A lot of that has to do with the injuries. When are you going to get these guys back? You know, does Taron Johnson come back this week? That would certainly help. And that's not a knock on Cam Lewis. He filled in admirably, but Taron Johnson's an all-pro player at the nickel position. You got Terrell Bernard back last week. That made a difference. How quick can Matt Milano come back? Is it, you know, early December? Because that would certainly be a huge boost for this defense. You're going to get Von Miller back. How long is that Oliver out? Is Taylor Rapp back this week? A lot of the concerns on the defense side of the football are the injuries. And when you have new guys, especially at the safety position, you'd love for Rapp and Hamlin or whatever that duo is going to be back there to be able to gel throughout the season so that they're peaking towards the end of the year. And you really want to avoid any more injuries. And then offensively, there's definitely some concerns. And a lot of that has to do with the passing game, because the run game right now seems to be effective. And so it becomes, how do we get this passing game going? Is it lean into the run and it's more play action? Is it, you know, more rub routes to manufacture, you know, separation against man-to-man defense and not rely on, you know, guys winning a true one-on-one matchup? But yeah, there is concerns right now. I also feel like, you know, they've really shot themselves in the foot against two really good teams these last 2 weeks to start the game. And then you just fight and claw to try and get back in these things. If they could just be more efficient at the start of games and not hurt themselves with penalties or drops or whatever it may be, they're going to set themselves up to play a more just balanced football game, which is going to be a better recipe.
Yeah, I like play action on first down a lot because they have run the ball on 20 of their last 26 first downs. That's not a tendency. That is an extreme lopsided
number.
That's a habit. That's a habit, exactly. So first down play action could go a long way on Monday night.
Yeah, especially when you're right, depending on the game, somewhere probably 40 to 60% pass the run. When you're that heavy on first down, then teams can really clue in on that. And then yesterday we ran the naked bootleg, and Daniil Hunter doesn't fall for it. And they actually did. I believe that was a first down, and I thought that one was going to get outside the pocket, but they sniffed that one out. But yeah, I'm with you. Get more multiple, and then I know Shakir is somewhat that guy for Josh, but with Shakir out, can a Curtis Samuel, can a Dalton Kincaid be that button throw and not a screen pass, but kind of that quick hitter across the middle of the field or an option route, exposing a slot defender, getting some of those on early downs to just keep you ahead of the down and distance.
Yeah. I'm big for James Cook being featured in the passing game. I think he's your most dynamic athlete next to Josh Allen on the offense. Maybe feature him more in the passing game. Let Ty Johnson and Ray Davis handle the run game and get some options. I mean, the ultimate sign of respect was on that pass that he almost caught inbounds. They wanted a linebacker matchup. They got a safety instead. That'll show you how much respect James Cook has in the passing game already. Maybe feature him a little bit more. Eric, thanks for the time. We appreciate it as always. We'll catch up with you later in the week.
Sounds good. Have a great week, guys.